it didn't work.
Now we're recording.
Okay.
Well, anyway. You guys ready?
Yes. I'm ready.
All right. Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the 16th episode of the Mixed Nuts Reading Club. So we've been at this for 4 months. You know, I guess we started right when this quarantine started, right before the quarantine started, as it was ramping up when it started in other countries. And I'm in here in Sedona, and we have some wonderful guests today. And I want to thank everybody for coming. And I'm going to be your host today. I'm Nick LaShaw, and I'm the director of the Mixed Nuts, which is the Diamond Cutter Classics translation team. And I picked a section from my text, which is Nagarjuna, Gyaltsab J's commentary to Arya Nagarjuna's 60 verses on reasoning. And I'll talk more about it in a second. I'll just introduce briefly everybody who's here. So first of all, from the way I see it on my left, Noor Ibrahim, thank you for joining us at 4 o'clock in the morning, your time. Very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's really a pleasure. Thank you very much. I can open my eyes.
I strategically thought you'd still be jet lagged so that 4 you'd be springing out of bed completely awake.
This is a very good idea. Thank you.
She got a more.
She's joining us from Romania, where she just arrived back.
Yeah. And I'm happy to be with you.
Originally from Syria, if you detect the accent. Next, we have Ben Kramer, who hosted last week, joining us from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And one of the Mixed Nuts translators, very good debater. I thought he might enjoy being on this call with this section of the text. And we just try to get him when we can, and he happens to be free tonight. Free, quote unquote. Yes.
Thanks for having me.
And then we have Mr. Earl Burney. Oh, so thank you for coming. From New York City, least likely place for him to be living, Earl Burney. Guy who I picture only living in strangely constructed houses in desert regions. Or maybe
don't rub it in, man.
Also a really good debater and great philosopher and good friend. So we're just happy to have you here, always raising interesting and difficult questions in classes. So I've been wanting to figure out a way to get you more involved in these discussions, these Mixed Nuts discussions that we're having. So I hope you like it. I'm happy to have you here. And Alex Rowland, who is joining us from Colorado. And we originally met, you were a yoga teacher in my mind. And now I know so much more about you. You're a business owner and you manage a real estate company and you're very successful and you're just generally a badass and are smart and quick. And so I was excited to get you involved in this discussion. And just got a fresh haircut.
Yes, thanks for having me, Nick.
And of course, thank you so much for joining Geshe Michael. We're really grateful for any time that you can spend teaching us this stuff. So he's the one who's teaching the rest of the Mixed Nuts how to mine these ideas out of the texts and giving us some sense that we understand anything in the text. But the truth is, we don't really understand any of it without you.
Hey, Nick,
we're getting there though.
I have some bad news. I have some bad news.
What is it?
The Chinese translation guys named themselves the fried rice family. Seriously, they're trying to compete with Mixed Nuts.
Pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, they called the fried rice family.
You're serious?
I'm serious. I'm totally serious. Should we have our lawyer get in touch with them?
I think we might have to. Yeah, I'm concerned about the political correctness. Like, well, we'll discuss this offline.
It's obviously just the mixed nuts name stolen, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Actually, it gives me a little sense of pride.
Cultural appropriation.
That's good.
I don't know what it's all about.
Anyway. Thank you for joining, Geshe Michael. And today we have Junie translating into Chinese, so please click on the globe at the bottom of the screen and jump into Chinese translation if you need it, or the Spanish translation. We have Berta Velasco translating into Spanish. So thank you so much to our translators. We're very grateful. And there's a link to today's reading in the chat.
Nick, should we click on English if we're on, or it doesn't matter?
We do.
In this, it doesn't matter so far because all of our panelists are totally fluent in English. So we don't have any situation where we need translation into English. But I think in future Mixed Nuts episodes, we might want to involve some people who would need translation. All right, so let's get right to it then. I chose a really fun excerpt from my text. It's from early in the text. And so Gyaltsab J's book, I'll just give a brief introduction for those of you who don't know. It's 60 verses on reasoning. Nagarjuna's book is 60 verses on reasoning. It's one of his 6 great books on logic. And in this particular 60-verse poem, he is trying to convince lower way practitioners or lesser scope practitioners who are often accused of studying a different version of emptiness. He is trying to show them that they already accept the highest understanding of emptiness as it is presented by the highest school of the middle way. And he's trying to prove this to them by using their own scriptures. And the commentary on this 60-verse poem that we're using, I'm trying to speak a little more slowly. Everybody should try to. The commentary that we're using is by Gyaltsab J, one of the main disciples of Je Tsongkhapa. And he's a brilliant logician and an incredibly difficult writer. And I think he's writing for an audience of people that already understand exactly what he's talking about or something, because some of it's kind of confusing. But I chose a really interesting section where he's talking about the direct perception of emptiness, which is a very fascinating topic. A lot of this book is about nirvana and the direct perception of emptiness. And he's talking about whether or not a mind exists during the direct perception of emptiness. And so he's commenting upon the first verse of the 60 verses. So this is right when we're starting to dig into the commentary on the root text. So I'm going to share my screen and I'll ask you guys to read, and then we'll go around talking about some aspects of just to discuss some ideas contained within the text. Bear with me for a moment. Okay. All right, can you see it? Okay. So, Noor, before you fall asleep, would you be so kind as to read this
Yes.
first verse?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
The
sure.
English
Thank you.
only.
Okay. Those whose minds have gone beyond the idea that things could exist or not, and who no longer dwell there, understand that the meaning of a cause is the profound truth that there is nothing at all to see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first of all, he's going to be commenting on the end part of this verse. And I skipped, the reason I put all these stars here in the reading is because I skipped some of Gyaltsab J's commentary that comes right after he reads the verse, or he writes the verse, because I wanted to get right to the section where he's talking about the idea, where he's talking about the phrase that there is nothing at all to see. So he takes a slight digression from the exact meaning of the verse to talk about the idea that there is nothing at all to see. So Nora, would you please continue by reading, starting from while we're on this subject?
Mm-hmm. While we are on this subject, let's examine the question of whether or not the mind exists at all with a realized being who is in the direct perception of emptiness. Now, shall I go ahead?
Yeah, please keep going. Now suppose.
Okay, now suppose that someone were to assert that if we do accept that there exists a state of mind at this point, then it must be a state of mind which possesses the impression that things exist through some nature of their own.
And one more section right here, 69.
Sure. A person who says something like this does not have the least impression, not a whiff, I hope it's right, of what the middle way means. As such, it would be silly for me to even waste my time here destroying their wrong ideas.
Okay.
I just said.
So stop there for a minute. That was great reading. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I just want to put it to the group. I hope you guys all understood that.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that the case? Why doesn't he even want to discuss that? And if somebody thinks that, why is it that they don't have the least impression, not even a whiff of what the middle way means? Any ideas?
I think it's Alex, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We'll go to everybody, so go ahead, Nora.
It came to my mind because in the direct perception of emptiness, when we get to this experience, we are getting to the ultimate reality, where for the first time, the mind is perceiving the things the right way. And in that moment, the person itself doesn't feel like he is in this experience. So the mind is melt to this ultimate reality. So it means he becomes like part of it, like we cannot think of something coming by its own side. I don't know if I made it complicated or not.
I think you might have been jumping ahead a little bit.
Okay.
But that's good. No, it's good. It gives us a hint of what's coming. So I appreciate that. Cool. Thank you. Ooh, Alex, you raised your hand. I want to hear your thoughts.
I think what I'm understanding that the opponent might be saying is that if you can perceive it, it works in some way, therefore it must exist from its own side, like a functionalist viewpoint almost is what I thought that might be about. That, does that make any sense? Now I want to look at the phrase again. I got to go to the other page.
Okay. Do you want me to share it again?
No, that's okay. I'm looking at it here. Okay. So yeah, if we possess it, then it has to exist from a nature of its own. So somehow it had a function of being possessed. So therefore, I'm going to say that it has some self-existent nature, and he says that that's not even worth talking about.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I like what both of you guys have said so far. Any other thoughts, Ben, Earl?
Yeah,
go ahead, please.
This is such a typical debate strategy to not answer the question and talk about what you want to talk about. It's like, what I encounter all the time with my friends on the debate ground. You like someone gives you a debate that you're not comfortable with or you want to talk about. Like, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. It's more interesting. So
Oh,
it's
nice.
Nagarjuna being kind of a Nagarjuna. That's my first.
In this case, it's Gyaltsab.
Gyaltsab.
Yeah.
Secondly, like the Kachik, the position, it's not very good. It's not very thought out. It's just saying, well, you know, if there is a state of mind, then it must be self-existent. There's no real cool reason given or anything super juicy. Whereas the next question is kind of cool and juicy. So that was my second feeling about it.
I mean, I'll give it some juice. In my what comes up for me is we typically describe an Arya who is not an Arhat as someone who maybe sees things wrong but no longer believes it, right? So an ordinary being sees things wrong and thinks they're wrong, and then they become an Arya and they see things wrong but they don't believe what they see, and then an Arhat or a fully enlightened Buddha neither sees things wrong nor do they think of things as wrong. But I don't know how often we talk about the Arya who is not yet an Arhat or a Buddha in the direct perception of emptiness itself. Wouldn't you have to say about that being that even though they're not an Arhat or a Buddha, in that for that moment at least, they neither see things as self-existent nor believe them to be self-existent? And I don't know if that's a point we've made a lot yet, but it seems like Gyaltsab is holding that position.
He's saying Pakpa, right? So doesn't that leave it open to they could be on any one of the first 7 levels?
Well, he's talking about during Pakpe Nyamshak during the meditation on emptiness.
But you get Nyamshaks between levels. You get uninterrupted meditations between Bodhisattva levels, I think, also. Yeah. Yeah.
Again?
I don't think it's well, first of all, I have to agree with Ben that Gyaltsab has totally twisted the book to what he wants to talk about. And it was really funny. It was really cute because he just ignored Nagarjuna and decided to talk what he wanted to talk about. And but he did say, I think his idea is that if there's a living, changing mind perceiving an object, then that mind has to be fooled. You know, if it's alive, if it's moving, if it's changing, and it perceives anything, then that thing also has to be moving, changing, you know, so it has to be fooled. You see what I mean? So the mind that sees emptiness directly cannot be that normal mind. In a way, the mind has to shut down to see emptiness. I think that's what the guy is thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think he's thinking. And it's fun the way he kind of goes back to this in the reading. And I guess my thoughts are that I don't think he's at this point explaining why they don't possess a sense of the middle way or anything. He's just, like what Earl said, he's just kind of strongly refusing to discuss it at this point and just kind of making a point of, you know, disrespecting that position so that he can seamlessly move on to what he feels like talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I may not have a whiff of the middle way. I mean, I'm okay. I'll accept the accusation, but yeah, I could struggle with this question because I understand that an Arya in the direct perception of emptiness still has the seeds for misunderstanding. So are what's going on with the seeds when he's in the direct? Is that creating any effect? Are those seeds having any effect whatsoever over that being's experience in the direct perception of emptiness? And you know, if I could be unclear on that.
From the Abhisamaya Alankara, I think that's where the magic show description comes. They say that an Arya in the direct perception of emptiness at that moment is like the person who doesn't see it or believe it. isn't it?
So what are the seeds doing? Do they still have the seeds? Do those do anything? They're just sleeping? They're just dormant.
Well, let's move on to the next section of the text.
Oh, fine, Yelsub J.
I think we can say the seeds that are creating the perception of emptiness are burning out incredibly fast. You know, it's like your gas tank has a hole in it, you know. So those seeds are definitely changing. Whether those bad seeds to see things as self-existent, what are they doing at that point? I gotta think they are there, but they are not asserting themselves, something like that.
It's a good thing I have you to clarify, because Yelsub J wasn't going to do it.
Oh, you know, towards the end of the book, he says a few things we can understand.
I think you could say that those winds that carry those ignorant thoughts aren't active. So you can't have that ignorant thought because those winds aren't there.
So do seeds ride on a wind?
Oh.
I didn't say that.
You didn't say that they don't?
No, I didn't say that they do.
So they don't. So seeds don't ride on a wind. So there's no ongoing momentum of energy connected to the subtle body that sustains the seeds to see things as wrong.
I'm not sure what you mean by ongoing energy, or if we can
Well,
go,
if the seed-
or if we can if we can go this far off road. I'm happy.
Let's see where the text goes. Yeah, let's see where the text goes.
Yeah.
Because it goes to some kind of cool discussions.
Ben, I'll hit you up later. We can spill this out to the debate ground.
You know where to find me.
All right. Ben, will you
Yes.
read section, starting from section 70?
70. Okay. Instead, I would rather discuss the position that there is no mind during that state.
I would rather.
Uh-huh. And
The
please
people like
continue,
that
Ben.
on the debate ground are the most tedious. Okay, so someone may begin with the following. When we perceive the true nature of reality directly, the mind dissolves into ultimate reality and the two become the same thing, inseparable. It's like pouring water into water or mixing butter into butter.
And one more, please.
Well, now, if that's the case, then can we just as well say, for the very same reason, that ultimate reality here becomes the mind?
All right, good. Let's stop there for a moment. Well, what does he mean there? Why would we have to say that? What would it mean? What would it even mean for ultimate reality to become the mind? I would love to hear some ideas about this because I'm confused.
Well, I worked on it for a long time, so I can kind of tell you. Is that all right, or should I let somebody guess?
No, please. I would love to hear what you have to say again.
Okay, look. So the mind is perceiving emptiness, right? So they mix together like water mixes into water. So when we say that, we always mean that the mind mixes into emptiness and the mind becomes emptiness, okay? We always mean it this way. And Gyaltsab J says, well, if it's water poured into water, then we can say it works this way and the mind becomes emptiness. You see what I mean?
You mean, and emptiness becomes the mind?
Yeah, so instead of the mind blanking out, then blanking out becomes the mind and emptiness becomes the mind. And then there's just mind and there's no emptiness. He says, why not? Because water mixes totally into water. if the mind mixes into emptiness and you lose the mind, well, then emptiness mixes into mind and they both become mind.
So there is no direct perception of emptiness.
No, there's no emptiness.
Yeah. It's just the direct perception of mind.
Yeah, it's the mind.
Yeah. The mind perceiving the mind.
It's a very cute argument. It's a very amazing argument.
Anyone like to share any thoughts? Anyone else like to share any thoughts?
I'll say it one more time. He says, if the mind, when I see emptiness directly, my mind sinks into emptiness. And then there's no more mind. At that moment, there's no more mind. There's just emptiness. Because the mind is like water, and emptiness is like water, and water poured into water, the mind becomes emptiness. Then Gyaltsab, the way he fights that statement, he says, well, then the other water becomes this water, and the emptiness becomes the mind. And then there's no more emptiness. It's just the mind seeing the mind. Okay. It works this way and this way.
So I have a question.
I think it's a
then.
great. Yeah.
So my question is water, like water being poured into water, not a good analogy for seeing emptiness directly, the experience of that?
It's a great analogy. It's the classic analogy, but it doesn't mean what the other guy thought it meant. Yeah, it's not that the mind disappears and becomes emptiness. Yeah.
So Gyaltsab actually is trying to clarify the meaning of the saying. He's making sure that we don't think that what it means is that the mind is becoming emptiness. So what does water into water? What does water into butter, or butter into butter actually mean? Anybody have any thoughts?
It means Veronica is baking a cake.
If you can, it's not fair if you can smell butter in the room. Does anybody want to share any thoughts about what it might mean to be pouring water into water or mixing butter into butter?
Well, it seems the saying invokes a feeling of somehow that they're mixing together, which the word inseparable could describe, but obviously not in the way that this fool thinks that it means. It doesn't mean the mind becomes emptiness, but it means something about inseparable, maybe.
I was thinking that from that experience, within that experience, that you can't distinguish subject and object, like there's just the experience. So you can't distinguish I'm seeing emptiness directly. You can't distinguish an I differentiated from the emptiness. So you couldn't have a valid perception of mind at that point. So I was thinking that's where maybe they were going to go with this argument. You can't prove mind exists at that moment. Like you can't have a valid perception of it. So how can you say it exists? So mind can't exist during the direct perception of emptiness because you can't have a valid perception of it. How could it exist?
Yeah.
So when are you having a valid perception of your mind, Earl?
Right now.
Hey, so you're directly perceiving your own mind right now?
Yeah.
I think so.
What's it?
Does a valid perception have to be a direct perception?
No.
Trying to help you out there.
Don't we typically say that you do not perceive your own mind in the moment that it's perceiving something anyway? Is that unique to perceiving emptiness?
Oh, I think that can be true too. I think you could have a perception of your mind outside of the direct perception of emptiness, though.
So while I'm perceiving a glass of water, I can perceive my mind perceiving the glass of water? Can a sword cut itself?
Yeah, I would say no unless you're in mind-only school. And suddenly it's possible.
And of course, this is a mind-only text.
Whoa.
I would say, no, I would say you wouldn't be able to do that at the same time. You would have a logical perception.
So what's so special about the direct perception of emptiness that for that moment you can't perceive your own mind because according to you, you never can?
I didn't say you never could.
When can you?
You can when you have a perception of your mind. Outside of the direct perception of emptiness. Like, not when you're perceiving another object, but you can have a perception of your thought, your mind.
What is it? What does it look like? I don't know if I've ever done that.
It looks like mental stuff.
What color
But
is
the
that?
point is, if you're not perceiving it directly, which I think we've all agreed that you can't, then you must be perceiving that you had a mind a minute ago or a second ago when you thought a thought. Not
So you had a mind a second ago,
now.
but you don't have a mind now. But you did a second ago.
Right. No, you can't perceive that you have a mind now. Is actually
Wait, how can something that exists now see something that existed a minute ago? Because that second
Oh
thing
wait, I
doesn't-
guess that means
the second thing doesn't exist anymore.
so nothing exists.
Oh, the thing, especially not the
Nothing
mind.
exists. Yeah. Nothing actually could exist because you have to be perceiving something to exist. But if you can't perceive that you have you can't really perceive something in the present. You're only perceiving things that exist in the past, but they don't exist anymore.
So you don't
Then
know if
nothing
you have
can
a mind. You don't know if you have a mind. You only know that you used to have a mind. Before the baby.
No,
Well, there is that.
he's getting much more sleep nowadays.
Yeah, all of a sudden, thanks to Ben's recommendation, actually.
Oh.
Is it working out?
Yes, it's really good. If anybody out there in TV land needs a sleep trainer, I've got one that I recommend.
Great.
All
You guys are
right,
saying
all right.
the subject and the object never can touch in any way. It's what I'm hearing you say. The mind and what it's observing never come into contact with each other anyway.
Well, we're talking about this because we're talking about whether or not you can say that there's a mind in the during the direct perception of emptiness, right? And then we're talking about, well, there can't be one because you can't see that there is one during that experience. And then Ben we don't have time for the whole thing, but I believe he's making the point that afterward, you can use logic to say that there was something doing the perceiving at that point. So that would mean that, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing you here, Ben. So I'm sure maybe you'd like to say it your own way, but and Gyaltsab has his own way of going about it, which we're going to approach if we have time. But the point is that just because you're not perceiving it in the moment doesn't mean that it's not there. Right?
Yeah.
He is saying that. Yeah, he is saying that. Is that what's the definition of an existing thing?
Yeah, I mean, like I have it in my notes. It comes up in an even juicier part, but we can talk about it now because we could run out of time. But let's move on and let's see how Gyaltsab deals with it, and we'll continue to wrestle with it.
Okay.
Is that cool with everybody, or does anybody else want to add something here? Or
Yeah, we can
Okay.
go ahead.
okay. So let's see, Earl, would you like to read, starting from here 73?
Moreover, we all agree that there does exist some state of mind at the level called highest thing in the universe during the stage of the path of preparation. Are you saying then that ultimate reality is simply the fact that this state of mind leads to nothing right after it? But that would simply be a normal absence of something. It wouldn't be appropriate to say that this is what we see when we see the realm of the ultimately real, the realm of the ultimately real.
Mhm.
Keep going a little bit more. This next section too, please.
Even if you claim that there is just the state of mind that existed before and the next one hasn't arisen yet, that's not ultimate reality. That's because the one thing has still arisen from a condition, the condition of causes wearing out. The condition of the causes wearing out.
Yeah, okay. I think we'll stop there for a moment. Let me see. Yeah. Okay, this is kind of confusing. And I'm going to need some help with this. I think this is the most confusing part of this whole section of the book. So I'll start it off. It seems like he's saying, so there's this thing that happens before you see emptiness directly, and it's called chichok in Tibetan. It's the highest part of the path of preparation, and it's where you see a seed opening in your mind and the image coming out of the seed, as Geshe Michael likes to describe it, with a pot of water on the stove. And he's just saying that, okay, well, that's a state of mind, you know, that's perceiving something. Are you saying that that just leads to nothing? And if so, then that's just, is it just like a nothingness that we see, like that comes after that? And if you're saying that, that's not ultimate reality. That's just that something hasn't happened yet. So I'm confused. Is he talking about the space between two thoughts? Because when he says, I'm confused, and Geshe Michael, I think you're going to have to probably help here. When he says the one thing has still arisen from a condition, that's the condition of the causes wearing out. Is he saying the nothingness between thoughts arose from the condition of chichok wearing out? Chichok meaning the mind before emptiness, or before the direct perception of emptiness.
Okay, so at the last few minutes before you see emptiness directly, right? You're at the end of the path of preparation. And so you'll be the other guy. Okay, Nick, I'll ask you a question. Do you have a mind at that time?
Yes.
Do you have a normal state of mind at that time?
I mean, it's pretty awesome, but I mean, yes, I suppose.
Yeah, you do. And then in the next moment, you don't have a state of mind, right?
That's what he seems to be saying. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And that's emptiness? Is that emptiness?
Yeah.
Okay. So emptiness is the absence of the last moment of the path of preparation, right?
Yeah, I guess that's what he's saying. I mean, it seems like he's saying it seems like he's arguing against the Kachik that says that's the absence of any state of mind. And I guess if it happens, yeah.
I'll say it again. So at the end of the path of preparation, did you have a state of mind?
Yes.
And then in the next instant, when you entered ultimate reality, that state of mind disappears, right? According to you.
Yes.
So therefore, the emptiness that comes right after the last moment of the path of preparation is the absence of the last moment of the path of preparation.
Yeah, but okay, but that means I'm seeing emptiness right now because I'm also not at the last moment of the path of preparation.
No,
because I'm on the Zoom webinar.
That the last moment of the path of preparation disappeared in the moment. Okay?
Yeah.
So therefore, according to you, ultimate reality is the absence of the last moment of the path of preparation.
Are you saying that because chichok is the cause?
And the gotcha is the last moment of the path of preparation.
Yeah.
Okay?
But isn't, okay.
Gyaltsab Je's accusing that guy, oh, you got a strange emptiness, you know? Your gotcha, the thing that you canceled to get to emptiness, was the last moment of the path of preparation, which happens to be called the highest thing in the universe. So the highest experience in universe is the gotcha, right?
Because that's what's because Churchok is what's denied. Because Churchok is what's canceled out. Wow, I didn't interpret it that way. I didn't understand it that way. Interesting.
It's a very cool argument. Okay, so you at the end of the path of preparation, you have a state of mind, right? And then
Yeah.
you flip over into no state of mind. Okay, and you're seeing ultimate reality, which is an absence of something. So what it is, it's the absence of the Churchok you were in the moment before. Because according to you, the mind is what shuts down in emptiness, in ultimate reality. The mind itself is the gotcha.
Right. The mind itself is the gotcha.
The
So
normal
what is
state
he
of mind
saying? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. That's what I thought. But I thought he's using that one, the Churchok, as an example.
And it's a very, you see, it's a very, very funny example to take because its name is best thing in the universe. And you say it's the gotcha?
Right. And okay, what? And I'll put this to everybody. I understand what you're saying, Geshe Michael.
Okay.
I mean, to some
Oh,
extent.
and I'll throw in one more thing. When the mind at the last moment of the path of preparation stops, okay? When it stops, that stopping is the cause of the state of mind in the path of seeing.
And would you say then, Geshe Michael, that that's what he's talking about when he says it comes from the condition of the causes for the previous moment wearing out?
Yeah. What he's saying is the cause of the direct perception of emptiness is the wearing out of the seeds of the mind in the moment before.
The cause of the emptiness or the cause of the perception of emptiness?
The cause of the perception of emptiness
Right.
is the ending of the mind of the moment before.
Now I understand the next part that's coming a little better. Ben just wanted to say something.
No, I'm just, I'm still a little confused because it does seem that he's saying that he's criticizing the other guy. He's saying, hey, you turkey, you think somehow the direct perception of emptiness is just simply the lack of the previous moment of mind. And here you're sitting in this perfect lack, but even that lack would have to have arisen from the condition, which is kind of cause of the previous moment of mind wearing out.
Exactly.
So then that lack is a caused thing.
Yeah, and its cause is a lack.
And that's why he says the seed's wearing out.
Yeah. The ending of the mind of the moment before is the cause of the ending of the mind in the direct perception of emptiness.
And this is Gyaltsabje's position.
No, he's
refuting this.
He's being sarcastic, which is very unusual for Gyaltsabje.
Okay.
So then a lack is a...
We're not going to agree. We're not going to agree with it.
So a lack then is a positive thing to Nick?
A lack? No, it's not a positive thing, but he is...
So it's a negative thing that causes another thing.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. That's what he's saying. But he's saying that the cause was a lack, which also don't cause things, and the result was a lack, which don't come from causes. But
I think, by the
So
way, I think Gyaltsabje is not really being fair here. The other guy isn't trying to say that when the mind turns off, that emptiness is the mind turning off. That isn't what he meant to say. He meant to say there can be no mind when there's emptiness. When the mind looks at emptiness, the mind has to disappear. But he's not saying the absence of the mind at that moment is emptiness, okay? The other guy.
right, yeah. Gyaltsabje's just kind of picking on him.
He's putting words in his mouth, which is very Gyaltsabje.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems to be a tradition in Tibetan dialectic texts in general. Anyone else like to weigh in on this? All right, let's keep going. I will share my screen.
By the way, there's a big joke between 68 and 69. I'll give $100 to anyone who can tell me what it is.
Between 68
I do pay
versus
money
68 and 69?
between 68 and 69. There's a big joke. I'll give $100.
Does it have something to do with whiff?
You're getting close.
Is this a monastery fart joke?
No. It could be, but it's not.
Geshe-la, do I need to show the Tibetan on the screen to get the joke?
No, we should be able to see it as it is. Let me see. No, you can see it right now if you have the eyes to see, as Jesus would say.
Oh, because he's talking about whether or not a
The
state
least
of mind
impression?
exists at this point. And he's talking about someone who, like, a person who thinks like this doesn't even, their state of mind of understanding the middle way doesn't even exist.
Okay, cancel the bet. Cancel the bet. He repeats the word impression,
Yeah, the least impression.
and he's criticizing the other guy. The other guy says the mind at that state must have some impression that things exist from their own side, which is nangwa in the Tibetan. Okay,
Right.
and then Gyaltsabje says on the subject of impressions, you have no impression of the correct meaning of the middle way. You get it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, now I remember this clearly from when we first covered it.
He uses the same word. He's poking fun at this guy.
Yeah, clear. That's not, okay, moving on. This is cute. Alex, do you want to read starting right here? Someone may.
Sure. Someone may then argue, you can't examine this using normal logic because we're talking about a state of mind which is unprecedented. If that's the case, then regular people must also go into a state of no mind in each new moment. There's no reason to make a special case for realized beings.
I like this. I like this part. It's cute, and it deals with something that I guess it was last week. We were also talking about something like this last week or a couple of weeks ago. So anybody want to discuss what's going on here?
But
Why would regular people have to go into a state of no mind at each new moment? What is it that he says in the first section of this?
it seems like this is the rebuttal to the last section where just because a moment ended and another moment hasn't arisen yet, that's not, this in between thoughts isn't seeing emptiness directly. And so he's saying that we would be having moments of, you know, one thought ending before another thought arose, that would be happening all day long.
I see what you're saying, Alex. It's tempting, but I think it's tempting to go that way. I think verse 76 is very specifically referring to verse 75. I think, but let's see. Noor, what do you think?
I was thinking about the idea of the wearing of the seeds, creating the ending of these seeds, creating the ending of the next moment, and so it might, like, this is the case for every moment. he's
You know,
like
I
what
think,
Ben was saying at the
yeah, you
beginning.
guys are right.
Yes, so if it's the case, so why we make it a big deal for wearing of seeds, creating the emptiness, dark perception of emptiness. So he just, I think, taking us to the debate Ben was trying to do at the beginning of the session. That's what I can get from this.
You guys both interpreted it an interesting way, that 76 referring back to the previous argument, which is I think it's right on. I mean, I think that's why he's going along those lines. But
We just had a class with Geshe Michael a few days. I think it might have been Monday's class where we talked about if you've done everything, if you've lived countless lives, then you've done everything countless times. And so why haven't we seen the direct perception? Why haven't we had the direct perception of emptiness yet? Why haven't we seen emptiness directly yet?
By the way, that's the proof of why you have to consider every person your mother.
Yeah, but Geshe is arguing with that proof here, I think, because Gyaltsab is saying, on the one hand, right, you could say what we've done everything countless times, but also each moment is new. This is I don't know, can you say that? Can you say somehow in the same moment that this is the first time I've been here having this conversation in this way with this combination of people about this topic on this day? Can I live countless lifetimes and still have each moment be a moment that didn't come yet, still be unprecedented? At least if there's no beginning, at least we could measure from the time when I one day will see emptiness directly, that this is the first time that I had this conversation with you that was this close to the first time that I see emptiness directly. And so, so then if that's true, that you can't talk about something because it's totally different than anything you experienced before, then there's never been a moment that's not totally different than anything you ever experienced before.
thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, because I wanted to make sure that everybody can follow. Because he's saying you can't examine this using normal logic. So, it's also just kind of a funny thing. Sometimes people who just don't feel, in my opinion, sometimes people who don't feel like getting into an intellectual discussion might go that direction and be like, well, you just can't even examine this using logic because this is beyond words or something like that. Or,
I think part of what he's saying is, look, normally every state of mind leads to another state of mind, because in Buddhism, your mind has no beginning and your mind has no end. So normally, every state of mind leads to another state of mind. I agree. The guy said, look, I agree. But when you see emptiness directly, that's a special case. Then the mind can blink out. And then the mind can blink back in afterwards.
It's interesting because he calls it a state of mind, which is unprecedented, not an absence of mind, which is unprecedented.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Long are in my young one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yunmanyongwa is an idiom. Yunmanyongwa means unprecedented. Something that's never been experienced as existing before. It means in Tibetan unprecedented. It's never been, you have never experienced this thing in countless lifetimes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Earl, you want to add anything there? All right, let's go on a little bit. We're going to run out of time before we hit the end, I think, but let's see. It's cool because...
Oh, by the way, what Gyaltsab is answering is that every new thought you have is unprecedented.
Yeah.
Every new thought you have is something completely new. So your mind should blink out every time you have a new thought. Okay. Your thoughts are all unprecedented. They haven't happened before.
Yeah, so why just for arias? Like, why isn't it that every
Yeah.
time there's an unprecedented, yeah,
Every
because you've never
thought
had
you
that thought
have-
before. And is that true?
Every thought you have is unique.
Is it a, do we think that's a fair argument? Like, is it true that every state of mind is unprecedented?
Yeah, because let's say I get upset at that I haven't eaten dinner yet, and right now it's 6:56 on July 9th, 2020. This state of mind I've had upset at not eating before. That's not unprecedented. That happens every night. But it's never happened before on this date at this time. So it's unprecedented. Yeah.
Or from that seed, right?
Yeah, therefore,
But if-
my mind should disappear every second.
But if time is beginningless, I mean, maybe this is just a nitpicking, but if time is beginningless, haven't we actually experienced this in 2020 before?
Couldn't you say though that it's
Like
never
if-
come from that seed before though?
Yeah, I
So-
think we can do that too.
If you go around a round racetrack an infinite number of times, do you eventually have to go in a triangle?
Well, I have no idea what Ben was saying, but I do have a question. Why does the unique state of mind why is it being compared to no mind in verse 76? I don't understand the connection between no mind and an unprecedented state of mind.
The other guy's saying, look, we all agree that normally one state of mind leads to another because your mind has no beginning and no end. So we all agree. Therefore, the last state of mind at the second path leads into the first state of mind at the third path. But because it's such a special moment to see emptiness directly for the first time, well, then the mind blinks out. And it's not going to happen again. It didn't happen before. It's just unique. And then Geltrup J says, well, every state of mind is unique.
Geshe Michael, is this
I'm good. We only have a couple.
cheek from a specific school?
Well, it's supposed to be from the lower schools, like, so it could be Hinayana, just any by Bhashikar or Sautrantika, basically.
Well, at some point, he attributes it to Huashang. Okay, it's a historical argument by a Chinese scholar, a Chinese monk who misunderstood the name of the third and fourth formless realm meditations, which are Chiang Mei, nothing at all, okay, or Dushe Mei, Dushe Mei Min, neither conception nor no conception, something like that, okay.
But couldn't you say this is also a Hinayana view that nirvana is blinking out? It's kind of the same argument, right?
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah, he's not. By the way, this book was written against the Hinayana, but Geltrup J is going off on some argument between two Mahayana guys, because he lost an argument in the debate ground just before he wrote this section. I think that's what really happened.
Well, we're out of time, but I just want to, because we've come this far, I'm just going to give the punchline of what he's talking about here. And I'll read it. If regular people possess a state of mind which involves a discrepancy between the way things appear and the way things really are, then why shouldn't we say there are beings in the direct perception of emptiness who have a state of mind that is free of this discrepancy? There is no way you can say that just because someone has a mind, then that mind has to be involved in this discrepancy. There's no connection. And it goes on, and it's very interesting, and the whole rest of this section is amazing, and perhaps we can continue it in some subsequent Mixed Nuts Reading Club, because
How about next week?
we can
Maybe next
continue it
week.
next week.
Mhm.
All right. let's do it because it's worth it. And we can include a little bit more of this. And we can get up to the part where he starts getting angry specifically at Master Huashang.
Yeah.
That would be fun. That would be fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
So thanks for the suggestion because it's cool. And he starts digging in. This is a great topic. Thank you all for coming. This was really, it was nice to have this group to talk about this stuff. Everybody had really interesting takes on it and energy. And I know it's short amount of time to try to dig into this stuff. I kind of miss the days of having a debate ground where we could just kind of hang out till 4 a.m.
Hey, Nick, is it true that the rest of us are going to get up at 4 a.m. next week?
I hope not.
Only
If
me.
Nor has, yeah. Depends how much Nor pays me off, I guess.
Yeah, 4 o'clock for you would be, I don't know. It would be good for me. Yeah, I pay you for that.
There's no reason to contemplate this type of thing. Yeah, this is just a waste of time. Thank you all so much for coming.
Having me.
Thank you
Thanks,
for inviting
everybody.
us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And thank you, Geshe Michael, for helping us understand this tough part and this tough book.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you,
And,
Gisela.
everybody,
That's
thanks for
really-
tuning in.
Mhm.
Thanks, everybody, for joining. Please spread the word about the Mixed Nuts Reading Club and let people know that if they want to contemplate the hard stuff, then this is what we do here. And it's fun. And what else was I going to say? Oh, special thanks to our translators, Berta and Junie. And Joy for translating last week.
Thank you, guys, for translating. Thank you,
And,
Gisela.
I think
Thank you,
Geshe
Nick.
Michael might have a pie cooking, so we should probably set him free. And the rest of us to eat dinner as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kesha Michael. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right, thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Thank
See you
you.
next week.
Thank you, Nick. See you next
Bye.
week. Bye.